Good evening, Facebook and YouTube. We want to thank you all so very much for joining us this afternoon on our Let's Talk Mental Health and Athletics. It is an honor to be here and with our guests as we talk about mental health and what we can do to help our young adults, our children, and manage their mental health. I am Charmaine Respis, First Lady of Antioch Christian Fellowship. And I'm here with Shakita Owen. She is the director of Hope Ministry of Antioch, and Brother Jerry Fain, who is also a team member of Hope Ministry. So if you all can welcome them, or we want to thank you for joining. But we also have Kobe Boyce, who is a member of Antioch Christian Fellowship, and who's joining us today to talk about mental health and athletics and how it is impacting him and what he's doing today to bring awareness to so many other athletes around the state, the community, and one day definitely the world. And so I want to welcome Kobe Boyce to the platform. Thank you, Kobe, for joining us.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Great to be here.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, we're going to get started here because I know the people are anxiously awaiting to hear your story. But before we begin to talk about your story, I want to just share a little bit about you. And so, again, we have Kobe Boyce, who graduated from Lake Dallas High School in 2017, where you played varsity football and received district honors. You attended University of Texas in Austin, my home city, and played the position of defensive back for the Longhorns for 3 years. After opting to leave football in college short of completing your senior year, you've become an outspoken person for mental health awareness for student athletes, spreading your message on podcasts and speaking at schools. And you're currently employed at Benny Keith Beverages in Denton. And so YouTube and Facebook viewers, please just drop a chat in our chat box saying welcome. Thank you for joining, Kobe, so we'll know that you're on. And so again, we are so thankful to have you here, Kobe.
Well,
And
thank you
so
for having.
Welcome. Welcome,
absolutely,
welcome.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm excited. I'm excited. And so, viewers, as you are watching, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And it is a purpose here of Hope Ministry to help eliminate the stigma associated with mental illness by raising awareness of mental health conditions and those that have them. And that's why we talk about mental health in May. And we're so vocal about sharing people's stories so that others will know that you don't have to be ashamed that you have a mental illness or that you have family members that struggle with mental illness. That's why we're here today on this platform to talk about it. And so I'm excited, as I know Shakita and Brother Jerry as well. So, Kobe, tell us what brings you here today, and why are you such a strong advocate on mental health?
I'm here today just to spread awareness on how mental health can be, how it can be viewed, and how you can perceive it, and how it feels because it's different for everybody. You may not really, you may be going through it, but you may not really notice it or really understand it. You may just understand you acting different, but that could be you having mental health issues or you going through some things. You just may not be aware of it. So like I just want to keep people aware and have them be able to understand the signs and signals of having that, and that's all I want to do because I
Okay.
that was me because I went through the things, so I don't want anybody else to go through those things.
So, Kobe, so you were a star athlete. You were a star athlete and received district honors and went on to play at University of Texas at Austin, one of prestigious football programs here in the state and in the country.
Mm.
And what happened that you made the decision to leave and walk away from playing football? You mentioned bringing awareness, but can you kind of walk us through what happened and made you make that big decision to walk away?
It was a variety of things. I had a lot of things going on in my life where I couldn't deal with them. Like I couldn't face them head on because I had all this. I had everything going on in football. Any college athlete knows how it is, and you've probably heard about it. But we're busy throughout the day. I knew something was wrong because I mean, even when I was younger, I felt these type of ways. But when I got to college, it enhanced like those problems that I had in high school when probably I couldn't sleep for a few hours. I really didn't sleep in school, and then it was just things were just enhanced. So like and I started catching on to that, but I couldn't get to the root of the problem because I had, like, whenever I think about it, I had meetings probably in 15 minutes. So I had to rush myself to like get a little hypothesis, whatever you call it, my bad. But
Yeah.
just the right, the right thing. I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with me. But and then I had counseling at Texas, but it wasn't. It was all revolved around the football. Like if I said something crazy or said something like some real stuff, like it probably get to the coaches, and then that'd be something on me. But if it's something that's real, then I feel like it should be addressed. So I saw it like that. So when I started feeling like I couldn't be myself or couldn't talk about like the things that I could wanted to talk about to get to the root of the problem, because I knew it was way deeper than what people thought it was. People thought it was just I was just lazy or something like that. I was like, I'm not a lazy person. Like I'm a very active person. I've always been active. So and then I come home, my parents would notice something every time I come home. And then when I got home from COVID, that's when it really like I'm glad that happened too, because I really got to sit down and really like evaluate myself and evaluate my whole situation, because I was there for like 3 months, and then that was happening, and my dad, being around my dad, because I wasn't around home like that because I was in school. My dad was getting sick, but it was before he got diagnosed. But you could just tell, like, as a son, like you just see him. Every time I saw him, it was something different, like how they said with me. So every time I saw him, it was something different. And then during COVID, when I was really sitting there, I was watching. He finally like told me like, "Hey, I want you to like step it up because I'm not gonna be here." Like gave me like that type of talk. But that was, like I said, it was before he even got diagnosed. He just knew it.
Okay.
So like that was like the final like decision where I was like, okay, like all this is happening. Like I knew I would be much happier without football. I knew football was like it was temporary. Like I knew that from the jump. My dad, even before I even left from school, like my high school, my dad was talking to his sister, and she was like saying like, does he even want to do it? And he looked at me and said, I don't even know. Like I don't think he does. But like, not saying I didn't want to do it, but like I didn't even know if that's what I wanted to do, longevity,
Yeah.
because I got thrown into it. Like I was just very talented in sports. So then I had a good year. 3 months later, I'm getting like 30 offers from schools, and I didn't even know I was gonna go to college like a week before all this was happening. So it was like a lot of this was like crazy. So I felt obligated to make a decision.
Yeah.
The school I picked wasn't even my like final call. Like I never really made that decision, which I
Okay.
should have, but it was kind of like pushed upon me and stuff to go to that school because of the history and the tradition and all that. And then you get to the school, and then it was, it was. I loved the experience and all that, but it just didn't feel right from the jump, because I only took like 3 visits, and then I didn't vibe with it really as much as the other schools. So that made it easier for me to make my decision. That And people looked at me crazy like, you left Texas, and I was like, y'all don't. I'm not gonna like. I don't
Yeah.
need to get into all of why I did that, but
Yeah.
like That's really why like that was my decision of stepping away.
Okay. No, I appreciate that because my son CJ, he played football as well at the Marcus High School and went on to play a season at ETBU. And throughout that process, he mentioned that he lost a love of football, and it was
Oh
it
yeah.
was different for him. Playing high school football, transition to college football was completely different,
Oh yeah.
and of course it was heartbreaking for parents. But he had to explain to us that mom, you don't understand what it's like. It's you're on a different level. It's more
Exactly.
work, and it's stressful. And he said, you're not the one getting hit all the time. And once he said that to me, I understood where he was coming from, and he no longer misses football. And
Oh yeah.
so, and as he said, it was a transition for him, and that he wasn't going to play in the NFL. So I appreciate you sharing that, that your heart, because I think it's really key that you know your mental health and that you take a stand and you be the voice for your mental health.
Oh
And
yeah.
because I don't think we as adults understand the level of responsibility and the stress that come along with playing sports on a collegiate level, on that next level. And we've seen it. We've seen it in the news in the last 60 days where we've had four students, a student at Stanford, University of Wisconsin, just last week at Southern University, and then one at James Madison University, all young adults, 2021, that took their lives because of the overwhelming responsibility of managing sports and college and probably home life, and trying to manage all of that at 20 years old became very overwhelming because either they didn't have an outlet or they didn't know how to process that. So I am very proud of you and commend you for recognizing your mental health and seeing that that was more important than playing sports. And that's not to down sports, but that, hey, I'm
Oh
more
yeah.
important. So
It's big
yeah.
in football. My life's bigger than football. I have to realize that because they're gonna keep
And
on.
oh, go
Texas is
ahead.
gonna
I'm sorry.
keep on. Oh no, you're fine. But I was just saying, Texas is gonna, regardless if I would have stayed or not, they're still gonna find their next guy. Like after me, like if I lose my life, there's no replacement for me. So like that's how I see it.
That's
So
good. And
for
that's
sure.
good. That's good. Shakita, Ms. Owens, do you have any questions, for him, or before I kind of ask him more questions to kind of, share?
I just like the concept that he just shared, that his life is bigger than football. And
Yeah.
I think that that is something that I hope will register with any of the listeners that are listening, of the young adults that are listening. One thing that I think that's important that, Kobe, that you realize is that all of your life circumstances and situations were so big that you couldn't focus, on football and then have self-care as well.
Exactly.
And it sounded like it was kind of, something that you had difficulty trying to manage the two, and
Oh
so
yeah.
you realized that you had to let one go. And so I just, commend you on, again, as Sister Respite shared, I just commend you on being able to take that step to be able to do that. And have you had any other close friends that may need to make that step too, that are going through some similar situations?
I ain't gonna say their names, but if they're watching. But
Okay.
yeah, like it's really like seeing it, and then it's really crazy because I'm pretty realistic about like what, like I'm not saying I wouldn't think I was gonna make it to the NFL, but like I'm seeing some people like out there that are like they're probably going to like their 6th year
Okay.
and beating their bodies up, like bodies beat up, like you can tell a difference from their mental, from,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say, but from then to now,
Yeah.
like you can
Yeah.
see it. And like each time you see them, it's something like these movies they put out about CTE and like these concussion it's not a joke. Like I'm seeing, and it's not something where, because people see it and they're like, oh, when they get 40 years old, 50 years old. No, these, like I'm seeing guys when I was in school, dudes I already know are off the grid
Yeah.
just because like they're linebackers, they're plugging the hole every play. Linemen, people don't even understand, linemen are they're hitting the heads every time. It's not hard every time, but that's their initial get off.
Yeah.
So that gets taxing on the body. You're doing that 100 times a game, like, and
Yeah.
you're seeing like you're seeing the repercussions of that, like obviously, and you don't know if they're doing it because they want to, like, because I know there's some people that are playing football because they're trying to prove somebody wrong.
Yeah.
They're trying to prove dad because their dad probably said they couldn't do it. Because my dad didn't believe me when I was getting offered. Not saying he didn't think I could
Okay.
do it, but when I was out, you want to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
So like people will do that, or people will just like, if you're doing it for not for you, like you're gonna get eaten up in this thing because they're not gonna be taking the blows. You're taking the blows,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the mental blows as well. Like you could just see it, like, and like I was never like somebody who was like really good in school and stuff, so I never saw myself as like not intelligent, but like I felt smarter than a lot of people. I feel smarter than a lot of my, like, because of this, like,
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
scary. Like, so yeah, like I have friends that I feel like should hang it up, but I know it's probably like a dignity thing. Like they feel like they need to do this because like, and they're men, like we're men. Like we feel like if we hang it up, like I'll never let somebody tell me I quit playing football. I'm not gonna say that. Like
Yeah.
I ain't quit.
Okay.
Like I didn't quit. I stepped
And you
away
made a
from.
decision. Yeah,
Yeah, I made a
absolutely.
decision to
You
step
made a
away.
decision for
I
your
didn't.
mental health.
Yeah, I could have quit 15 times. I lost my position. Like I can't tell you how many times I lost my position, but I got it back just as many times as I lost it. So I could definitely. I didn't quit. If I was gonna quit, I would have quit then. Like I literally couldn't look at a playbook. That's when I knew I needed to step away. Like I looked at like my dad was trying to make me go over my plays, and I was getting mad even just looking at the playbook because I didn't want to see. I didn't even want to see it. Like I didn't want to see anything football related because I was just sick. Like I was sick of it. It wasn't so that's, and I know guys feel like that as well, but they feel like they need to keep pushing because of that. So like I don't want people to do that because that's what's gonna kill you at the end of the day. That's what kills these guys because they feel like they're obligated to do it, not for them, for somebody else, when they're not even doing it in the first place. So I feel like there's a lot of, not a lot, but like I know some people out there that are like just that are like going back and forth with that. I know it's hard because it's hard to like, especially if you're from a big school. It wasn't that hard for me, but I'm sure it'd be a lot hard for a lot of people there. Like, because I was verified, people knew like all this. Like, it was, you got the glitz and glamour being in Texas and stuff. Like, I could have just held on just because of that, but I could even handle, like, I couldn't even deal with that. Like, that was, I hated that as well because I couldn't get real conversations. I couldn't get real like making friends. I knew they were trying to be friends with me because I was playing football, or like getting girls. Like I knew the girls were coming up to me because I played football. And you could see the guys that knew that, like I knew I had that power, but I didn't want to use that. You see guys using that power, and I hated it. It was just like,
Yeah.
it's toxic, and I hated that because like I'd rather somebody talk to me, not know who I am, and then find out, and then like that. Okay, that's a plus then for you.
Yeah.
But like, you're obviously when you're younger, you're like, oh yeah, this is great. But then you, because it's new, but it gets old. You
Yeah.
realize like, because now all those people, like I haven't heard from a single one, like all of them, which is real. Like, and I knew that'd be the case. Like I knew that even when I first met them. But it's just crazy seeing it now. Like when you really like talk about it and then it happens. So that's like, but I never cared about that. Some people really care about that. So I feel like they hold on for that reason because they want, that's that last, even if you don't play, like you still have that. So people love, like, not people love it, but like people may want that if they don't have another. So, no,
I have a
that's,
question for you, Kobe. What words of wisdom, this is from Reverend Daryl Simpson. What words of wisdom would you give a highly recruited high school athlete on being prepared to play on the next level?
just get into the, if you get the playbook early, if they give you that playbook, get into it, dive into it. Um, just you gotta be on a straight narrow path. You can't have any hiccups, especially if you're trying to play as a freshman, because that's a big that's a big responsibility for any, these guys that are out there as a freshman. They're out there for a reason. Like they're one of the best ones on the field because like it's rare to find those guys, but once you find them and you get them right, like I'll never forget Derek Stingley, corner from LSU. He came in. Uh, it was my last year playing. I think it was my last year we were playing at LSU. But like he had like one of the greatest corner years of all time, like as a freshman. But the reason he did, like I heard his story behind it. he came in like in not you usually like if you come in early, you come in January. He came in like December, like during their like bowl prep. So he was in there learning the plays, running with the guys. Like he was
Wow.
he was dang near cornerback one like from the jump because of that. Like, and that was so he's basically in high school doing that. And then you saw the year that he had, it was all because of preparation. He wasn't messing around. He wasn't out. Maybe he was out, but like you'll know once you get there. You just be smart about that. Like everybody's gonna want to go out and enjoy themselves and stuff, but there's a fine line. Like there's a fine line to that. And really, it's not a bad thing if you don't go out. You're not lame. You're not weird. Because I would be somebody who would just chill at the crib and play the game and stuff, and everybody would be dressed up, all that. That just wasn't
So
like I'll go out, but it's just not my like a big crowd and stuff. That's just never my thing. So, but that's a big thing. It's just knowing the distractions, recognizing the distractions, because you may do some stuff you may not even know is a distraction. So just like knowing what can like get you off track, like stay away from that. That like be around the people that are playing. Don't be around the people that are like on the bench because
yeah,
you're gonna get their habits.
yeah.
You're gonna get because they're gonna be complaining. Like that was the most annoying thing for me too. Like I wouldn't complain because I knew if I was benched, I knew why I was benched. Like I was, and even if it was on some politics, like because there was politics there, like I understood it. Like I know it. I knew there's politics everywhere. So I was like, all right. Like
Did
obviously
it
this.
impact you? Did it impact you, Kobe? When you think
Oh,
about, as you mentioned, the politics and maybe being the player that's on the bench, how does that impact you mentally? Because there are only 11 players on the field, and so
oh
you
yeah,
have another 30 or 40 people on the roster or sitting on the bench. How does that impact you mentally? Because I think transitioning from high school and being that freshman, yes, you're great at
oh
being an athlete, but you're having to start from the bottom again unless you just are
yeah,
special and you get the opportunity to start that first string. How does it impact you mentally? Because you want to get in the game, but you're sitting on the bench for the entire
yeah.
season. How does that impact you mentally?
That the great thing about me, I understood my situation. I understood I probably was gonna play, and I
Okay.
didn't like make myself believe I was gonna play. Like I didn't go out there and was like, oh yeah, I wasn't telling my friends y'all gonna see me on Saturday, like my
Okay.
freshman year. I wasn't telling them that because I knew like we had some dudes that were like 200 pounds. I'm coming in like 160. Not saying I didn't have the ability to do that, but I was like, I'm probably not gonna be seen. I'm probably gonna red shirt, and I
Yeah.
wasn't upset about that because you get that extra year, you get
Yeah.
a year of work instead of wasting a year.
That's
So
good.
uh that was I'm glad I had that mindset because that would have ate me
Yeah.
because I saw guys that had the like you see the potential too. It's just like there was a kid, Jordan Pouncey, uh he transferred to Florida now. He he was in my class and I didn't even play it. I don't even think I played like a snap during fall camp. I can count on my hands how many snaps I had, like live reps, and I, those live reps were crazy. But he was playing a lot more than me, and he was going against the ones, snagging on guys, and all that. You would have thought he was going to be starting that year, and he was a freshman. He did. He ended up redshirting like me, and that you just saw that kill him.
Okay.
Like you just saw it kill him, like dropping balls. Like he wasn't even dropping ball. Like he wasn't even known from dropping. He was catching all these crazy catches. Now he's known from dropping balls, and like
Wow.
it's like you see that effect on people. Like it will really mess a guy up. Like and it's it's a hard transition. Like if you are just seeing in the if you're just looking at like the glory, like if you're just looking at like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get there. Obviously, you think about the grind, but like, actually, no, I won't even say that because I feel like I feel like guys will just expect because they're making these plays and stuff, and because like they're doing this and that they're gonna be automatically out there. When you have guys that are older than you that's been doing it, that put up numbers, we don't know like what they're gonna
Yeah.
do. Like whenever it's another color out there and they throw you the ball, like you may drop it, like you may freeze up. So I see where the coaches are coming from, and honestly, like the guys never understood like how great redshirting is or was, because they kind of changed the rules up to make it where you can play a certain amount of games. But at first, it was I think it was like you could even play. I think you can even go out on the field or you get redshirted at like my first year. That only affects your first year. So the next year it was like 5 games or 4 games. You
So
can go up
if
before.
Brother Jerry, I wanted to interject real quickly. I'm sorry, I wanted to interject real quickly. You have a son. Does he play sports? And
Yeah, my son played he played football in middle school, and in high school he wrestled. And it sounds like what Brother Cody was saying. He was putting a lot of emphasis on mental health, and he defined himself by how many matches he's on and whatnot, and that was really a struggle for him. So it's good to hear that someone out there is talking about it. Because in the question I have for you, you're familiar with Ben Simmons, I'm sure. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. From your perspective, what do you see? Because a lot of what people are saying is it's a lot of psychological issues he's struggling with. Do you, looking at his situation from someone that's kind of been where he is, how do you feel?
How do I feel about the Ben Simmons situation?
Yeah,
Yeah. Um, that's a it's weird. You obviously can see there's something going on there this past basketball. Uh, even like from college, I heard up here he wasn't he's had a lot of issues up here, and I feel like I don't think he's hurt like that. I feel like he's hurt up here. Like it's not really his bag. I feel like it's more up here. Obviously, like he may have like a little tweak, but it's the playoffs. Like guys are going out there on rolled ankles and have torn hamstrings trying to play. So I don't think it's injuries. I definitely think it's mental health, especially like where he came from. Like you gotta think about too. Like I went to Texas. Like that's a crazy fan base. Like I got death threats after games. Like whenever we were playing and stuff, and I lost, and I was out there. Like I was getting threats. I was getting all this and that. Like people in my DMs talking crazy, racist, all that. Philly,
wow.
yeah, like Philly is ridiculous.
yeah,
Like so, what he did, obviously, like as a basketball player, like his performance was bad. Yeah, but there's a point where it's like it gets a little out of hand, like, and those things kind of goes past basketball, and people are telling like the things they were saying to me, like obviously, like that mess with me sometimes, like when I would see, and then it'd be like I wouldn't even try to see it. I'm just trying to be on my phone chilling. I see a DM, boom, like So, and that's at Texas. He's on the 76ers starting playoffs, passed up like he was a meme. Like I was a meme as well. Like that, I don't think people knew that I was on not top 10, like number one on not top 10. Like that's, and I was at a party when I found out at a party with everybody watching it,
Wow.
and it was like people were like, "Dang, that's you," and I was like, "Yeah, that's." I was crushed. I was like, "Dang, that's crazy." They clowning me, not like at the party, but like on TV, like like I don't know who was the guy. I think it was like Scott Van Pelt, like the person I watched growing up, like talking crazy.
Yeah.
Randy Moss, I was on Come On Man, like all that. Like I was on all that. So I can't and people don't know how that feels. Like it's wild, but I can imagine how he feels because he was a whole like he's still a meme. Like people tell him to go to Shanghai. Like people tell him like just, and I know that messes with his. Now he really want to pet like when he's about to shoot. Like anywhere he's at when he's about to shoot, everybody's gonna like are you gonna shoot? Like that's his mantra. Like everybody sees that. So that'll mess a guy up. Like I'm not saying I don't know how he's gonna recover from it because I know he's like deep into it right now. Like there's no like just the way how the Nets lost as well when they could have needed him.
Yeah.
And he could have made an impact, just a little impact on that game. Like, they got swept, but they could have made a little impact. The fact that he didn't play. And Brooklyn isn't a nice place either. Like, they'll go crazy on you too. They saying some wild things. So I can't imagine you went from Philly to Brooklyn and it really hasn't dropped off. So
Yeah. So,
you just
so
gotta
Kobe.
hope he does good. I hope he
Yeah.
it's right.
So Kobe, and talking about Ben Simmons and yourself and being a meme and the other football player that transferred, it appears that there's this overwhelming responsibility and high expectation that you all succeed at this level.
Oh yeah.
So how do you, because mentally you made a decision for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
which, as we mentioned earlier, is commendable. What tips and tools, or what signs and symptoms, can you share with us that you may have experienced that may help someone else? Because as I'm hearing and listening to you, we see the glitz and glam of sports.
Oh
We
yeah.
only see one side of sports. We don't see behind closed doors. That's not to say that playing these sports aren't great, because they benefit a lot of athletes. However, those that don't make it, I remember Dr. Chris Respis mentioning he coached football, Little League football, years ago, and 5 and 6 year olds. And every parent out there, thought that their 5 year old son was going to make it, to the Dallas Cowboys and be on, the NFL team. And he honestly said, y'all, this is Little League football. Some of you will go to middle school and play football and decide, and then some of you will not. Some of you will go on to play high school football, make it to varsity. And then he said, some of you all will make it to the next level and go to college. And some of you will not. And then some of you will make it to the NFL. He said, but what you will see is that pool of players from Little League football to middle school to high school to college to NFL began to shrink.
Mm-hmm.
So the expectation that your child is going to be great and make it to the NFL is a very high expectation. And I think as parents, sometimes we put this pressure, or we live through our kids, and they have this pressure of, I have to, I got to make my parents proud. I want to make my parents proud. And so for you, recognizing, after 3 years of playing football, that you realize that I need to take care of myself. What are some signs and symptoms that you can maybe share with parents that are listening and watching to kind of recognize if their children or they're are having some symptoms that they need to say, hey, I need you to get a check? Because my question is, with all of this going on, do they provide counseling for you all on this level in college, for your athletes? Because it seems like there's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they do provide it, but
Great.
it's like wishy washy. Like, it's something
It's
where
not to the level.
you don't want to share too much,
Yeah.
because then
Understood.
it's like now it's a football thing. Now coach is like, what's going on? Like, well, like at the end of the day, like, being real, they don't care, because they have all their things they're doing. Like, their schedule is just as busy as yours, just on the mental side of it, because they're coaching it. But yeah, like, they don't have time for you to talk about your sick dad. Like, he's going through all this, like, unless you had a coach that relates to you, like,
Yeah.
he probably takes some more time out. But it's hard to find that. And your question about
What are some signs
oh
and symptoms that you can maybe share to
yeah
help other parents, help their students that may be struggling to recognize, quickly,
yeah
if they see something that's repetitive?
what's really like something that's like similar from everybody is just you're just fed up. Like, you're just exhausted, like, mentally. You don't want to do anything.
Okay.
Like, it's becoming a chore to you.
Okay.
Like, because obviously, like, training is different. But like, if you're like scheduled to lift or something like that, your kid's home to lift,
Mhm.
Like, or like in college, like your kid comes home, you know they're supposed to go home and lift. Like when they're at home. All right, hold on, y'all go.
Mhm.
Come, girl, come on,
Okay,
love,
let's
come on,
go.
love.
So I want to, as we wait for Kobe to return, Ms. Owens, what are
Mhm.
your thoughts and feedback on what he shared so far?
I mean, I think all of it is dead on as far as
Mhm.
the symptoms and things that he's saying for the parents to look for,
Mhm.
and it all of those signs play into being showing signs of depression.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
And
yeah.
so, especially when he talked earlier about having problems with sleeping, not being able to sleep, and we know that any athlete, like their sleep is so important. Like they need the rest because they're up, they're having to be at practice early, practicing late,
Even
games.
getting too much sleep, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
I was just
Sleep
getting
is
ready to ask Ms. Owens, at what point do you discern between an athlete just resting and an athlete resting too much? They're sleeping not 8 hours, but they're sleeping 10, 12, 13, 14 hours a day. They're sleeping all the time. At what point do you raise the flag and say, there's a concern?
if like say like I saw it all the time, which is crazy. But like we get home or we get done with lifts, and a guy just sleep all day, doesn't do anything, probably is up for like another, like he'll probably nap for like 5 6 hours, get up, eat, go back to sleep for another 8 10 hours.
Wow.
Like they're not up, they're up for like 2 hours on the day, and that 2 hours is probably like, or I'll say like four, because they're working out in those other two.
Yeah.
But then that other two, I would even say up for another two because they're so tired. They'll have to go to like mandatory like lunch. Like their sleep throughout every break, or their sleep throughout like every little time period you have their sleep. Like it's tiring, yeah, but like it's, you kind of get accustomed to it. Like because you want to like live, like you want to be able to like I was fighting to sleep, but I wanted to be able to like go
Enjoy
out.
college life.
Hmm.
College, like it was hard because there were things I didn't even know about because I was so busy. Like I'm learning everything now about Austin that I never saw. But
Okay.
uh yeah, like I was fighting that sleep because if I wanted to, I would have been asleep all day. But I knew like my day was just flying by, and it was horrible because I'd be like, especially if I didn't want to do it, like that's the last thing I wanted to do, and I'm sleeping all day. Like that's all I'm gonna see. Like is that so? It was it's mainly that, like just sleeping like absurd amount of time,
Okay.
and then they're just like, I'm tired. Like that's like they're always talking about how tired they are. They're up like it's 3 o'clock. Like we're in class. Like we sleep. And it's a
Okay.
lot of us that were like that, but that was like normalized. And then the professors was like, oh yeah, like they're athletes. They want to sleep in class, all that. And then it was just crazy seeing like the the reaction from students, and because those students and those professors, like they're at Texas, like they're about their education, like they're not playing. So when that's getting interrupted, and that's like that becomes a problem, especially like we like getting group projects and stuff. So then you're with a real student, not a real student, but like a student, and then
Student,
yeah,
student
and then
athlete.
they're already being slick. They're like, oh, I'll like I'll do all this because I know you're probably not gonna like throw that at you or something like that, or be like, because y'all don't have time, but I'm not gonna say we really don't, but like it's hard because you fighting on that time. Like you're like the time that you're up, you're like fighting to stay up. You're fighting to like not just pass out because you're so exhausted throughout the day. So I would say that's a big one.
Miss
Not
Owens, what I
Hmm.
want to bring in Miss Shakita Owens and ask you, what are some, again, some signs and symptoms? I know Kobe mentioned sleep and sleeping a lot, and not just your normal 8 to 10 hours of sleep, but the nap, you're sleeping another 4 or 5 hours. What are some signs and symptoms that parents can kind of take away in recognizing or seeing in their student or their child or children, or let me take that back, young adults that may be experiencing some depression?
I would definitely point out the isolation.
Okay.
You know, especially if they're coming home on break. Definitely, I think that that would be an excellent time to be observing to see what their behaviors are during that time. And sometimes, of course, they may want to isolate and hang out with friends, but if they're just isolating, period, and don't want to hang out with the family, don't want to hang out with anybody, I
Okay.
think that that is a huge sign. The
Okay.
isolation, I think that's a big one. Um, Also, the eating may
Okay.
be another one, along with the sleep, the eating habits, and paying attention to that.
Okay.
We know that with depression, um, you know, sometimes people may become manic, you know, as well. You know, at one point, you may see them going through their highs and their lows, where they're all excited, maybe all excited about the game, maybe excited about football. Then the next time you see them, you know, they just down and in the dumps, and now, you know, not really having a lot of hope as to, you know, what the future of being a football player may even look like for them. So
Oh yeah.
I think just listening to the conversation, listening to their conversation, the way they talk, I think will definitely point out a lot as well. Listening to the conversation, I think that's very important, and communicating with them, and giving them a safe space to allow them to be able to share, so that they don't have to feel so guarded. Because as Kobe has already shared, you know, sometimes there can be that feeling of an obligation, that
Mhm.
they're obligated to perform, you know, on this team, just because now you got all these 50 zillion family members and friends that are football fans, and everybody rooting for Kobe, everybody, you know, waiting for the game, waiting to see what you're gonna do, and so giving up. And well, he said not giving up. We're not gonna use that. He didn't give up, you know, but choosing his self care, his mental health. You know, now he got to be worried about what people gonna think about that. And so I think that, you know, him not having to worry about what people think, but be focused on his self care. And as he shared with us, he feels a lot better that he's let the football go. But
Oh yeah.
those are some signs and symptoms that I think are important, along with, you know, some tips and pointers for the parents.
Yeah, I thank you, Miss Owens, for sharing. Those tips. Isolation, eating habits, listening to their conversation, and then sometimes I'm feeling obligated to perform. One of the things that I learned also is recognizing where I was. Someone who has struggled with mental illness as well, is having a scale and asking myself, where am I on the scale on 1 to 10? How am I feeling today? And reaching out and sharing with someone, and not being ashamed to share, hey, this is where I am. I'm feeling like a 2 today versus a 10, and I need to talk to someone, and so that others are aware what you're experiencing. And I think it's key. I mean, I know we keep commending you, Kobe, but I am really proud of you, because it's a lot for a 20-year-old, or how are you, 2021?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, to make this stance, and say, hey, I'm going to take care of me, and me, I'm going to be priority, and to make that decision, because that's a difficult decision to make, and not not that you're not concerned, but understand that self care is important, and that you're going to put Kobe first, and I think that's really important, and then that you recognize the signs, and then with COVID, I think it just kind of escalated everything, those 2 years of being forced to isolate yourself. You went from being around your friends, your colleagues every day, to now being shut in your home for an extended period of time. and not being able to contact people or come in contact with people. And so it was limited. So I think everyone experienced some sense of depression or mild depression or variation of depression during that 2 year period. It was said that the increase of counseling services needed was over 100%, and that the demand for counselors, you had people on wait lists to be seen. And so I know COVID had a huge impact. And not only that, just the overwhelming responsibilities and the burden that you all as young adults have. Because you said something, Kobe, earlier about, the meme, or I think we lost him. But he said something earlier about, the meme and being made fun of. That cyberbullying, is really um, something that is traumatizing our young adults, our children's, that these children that have access to their cell phones, their tablets, their laptops, and um, and their laptops, that people are, messaging, sending direct messages and sending people negative comments and feedback, that it can really impact people's mental state. And because you want people to perform at a certain level, and if you miss the mark one time, then all of a sudden you're a failure, and that pressure. And so for Kobe to be able to manage all of that and step away from it is really commendable. And so, because I know, as being 20, so I mean, that's a lot of a burden to bear.
Oh yeah.
Any feedback, Brother Jerry, from you?
I love this stuff. When I do see that there was a lot of other athletes that kind of come out and talked about mental health. The wide receiver from Atlanta, Ridley, who took some time off for his to focus on his mental health. So I think that there's more and more people, excuse me, that are coming out and talking about this. I mean, previously as men, we didn't talk about it, especially athletic men. We didn't show our weakness. And that does kind of follow up or segue to a question I did kind of have in regards to how much pressure or stress is added, do you see, with other players who were forced to play injured when they're really getting on?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a. I feel like that's one of the worst. That's one of the worst things, in my opinion. One of the worst, because like nobody knows their body like themselves. So you have a guy that's putting up numbers and stuff. I've seen it all. I saw it all the time. I mean, you see it in high school. Like my coach I broke my hand in high school, and my coach, because I told my trainer that I broke my hand, and she told me I broke my hand, he cursed out me and the team, because he's like, y'all are soft, y'all don't want to play. And I was literally about to tell him I was gonna wrap it up and play, but he didn't even let me finish. He already cut me off and was like, "Oh, he's soft, like he's, and but in college, like you'll have guys like you'll see guys that are hurt, they're coming off an injury, and it could be a little injury like a hamstring or something like that, and those are the worst ones, because you can't keep messing with it if it's. So I'll see things like guy has a pulled hamstring, and they're trying to rush him back, and he's like, "Nah, I don't think I'm ready." Like, and like spring ball's coming up, fall camp's coming up, so they trying to be right for spring ball and fall camp because they're trying to win a job.
Yep.
The trainer's like, "No, you're good," because the coaches want to see you, or the coaches want you to be ready. So they put it on because they all have a meeting, and they all talk about the injuries. The trainer tells them all the injuries and stuff. He tells them how he thinks they feel out of what they feel. Like he'll be like, "Oh, like, well, he said this, but I think it's this." Well, we both know the symptoms, but the guy said it's an 8. You say it's a 3. So you saying so now like the athletic trainer's telling you, like, you can't really go against the athletic trainer. You can say you're hurt. Like, if the coach wants you to be on there, they're gonna push you to get out there, and then they tweak it, and then they're about to beat the mess out of the athletic. I've seen it all the time. Like, Like that's like one of
Yeah.
the most hated people in football, like in sports, because of that. Because you have
Yeah.
they don't consider the actual injury. They want to rush the guy back, and they'll mess with you. Like I've seen guys that have lost their careers off it, just those type of
Wow.
just just time after time, and that gets after a while,
Yeah.
your body just gives out. Our body's not even meant to do the things we're doing right now. Like our bodies are not meant to. I'm not meant to run 15, 60 miles per hour and stop on a dime. Like nobody's built to do that.
Good. That's good.
And there's
Yeah.
repercussions for doing that. And if you don't get it right, like and what's crazy, they talk about taking care of your body all the time, like especially the athletic trainer. But then when it comes to a situation where you're trying to really take care of your body, they go against it and they're all about because we got all this invested in you. So and you hear about NFL guys all the time. That's why I got like
Yeah.
it's everywhere. Is
Yeah.
I haven't seen the NFL. I'm sure it's worse because now they're like legit paying you,
Yep. Hmm.
and they have. I mean, now you have NIL with college football, and I think that's gonna destroy a lot of football, in my opinion,
Okay.
just for the pure fact because it's just gonna turn into a bid fest.
Excuse my ignorance. What does NIL stand for?
It's ne- let me.
Okay.
I don't even
All
know.
right.
I just know it's about paying. Let me look. I'm so bad.
Yeah, I do
That's
know
okay. That's okay. As he's
information.
looking up what NIL means, Ms. Owens, do you have any? As we have a few moments left here, and any
Name,
tips
image, like
or any name, image, and likes? Okay, okay. And so athletes are making money off their name, their image, and the likes, and I'm sure that's driven by social media.
oh
So
yeah.
okay, okay, okay. Kobe, I know I'm going to give Shakita an opportunity to share, but do you have any last minute, um, you know, comments or suggestions or tips to help college athletes? Because every day kids are being recruited, and ready to go to the next level. What are some tips that you can provide those students in order to have a successful transition or to be prepared mentally to go to the next level of sports in the college world?
You there's it's a lot. Uh,
Give me three top things to kind of take.
just know you want to do this, like know it. And even if I say know it, you may not still know, like,
Okay.
but you'll find out like pretty soon. But
Okay.
have a great idea that you want to do this. Two, don't let anybody tell you you can't do it because you're there. If you're getting recruited, if you're getting schools to hit you up, if schools are interested in you, especially D1 schools, like you're there for a reason. Like you're in that position for a reason. So don't doubt yourself. And three, just don't the distractions. They'll be there. Just focus. If that's what you want to do, like focus on that. Don't. Obviously, you got school. The girls are gonna be there. The clubs are gonna be there. But no, they're there. But that's a distraction as well. That'll throw you off. So just know, and like base your school off of that too. Like if you know you're a partier, I wouldn't want to go to, you know, I'll watch where I go. You might want to go to a school in
So you can
Iowa or something.
focus.
Yeah, like be smart on that. Even those schools are crazy because there's nothing out there, and that's all
Yeah.
they have. So you really gotta like go to like you got Stanford. Nah, shoot, go to Stanford. You got good education. They don't party. They're in the library on Saturday nights, but that's what that's the way you can get to the league by no distractions. Like looking to those schools, Notre Dame, like just
Okay.
schools like that
Okay.
that are real strict. So yeah, that's my three.
No, no, I appreciate that. Shakita, any last minute well, let me go to Brother Jerry. Any last minute thoughts, and then I'll turn it over to Shakita for some last minute tips and tools to
Yeah,
help
I really
us.
don't have anything. Kobe, I just appreciate you, sir. And I appreciate you going out there and telling the story. I know it's not easy, but may God bless you moving forward. And I just say thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And I want to thank you too, for sharing your heart and being really just transparent and sharing your experience, because I know, as Brother Jerry mentioned earlier, we didn't share a lot. We kept, our emotions and what we were experiencing to ourselves. So, I really appreciate you, sharing your heart and being transparent, in hopes to help other people, other student athletes, play on the next level, and just to be prepared and to kind of have realistic expectations. I think what helped you, what I picked up from you, was that you had realistic expectations of yourself and what was to come in the future. And I think that's key, because if we have these high expectations or unrealistic expectations, um, then it can be very challenging and devastating for those who don't make it to that next level. And
Yeah.
so, I really want to commend you for that, because I think that's key, in just having a healthy, understanding of who you are. Not only that, but knowing what you can handle, and knowing that if it's something that becomes overwhelming, that you know how to step away. You know how to step away. So, and I think that's really key. And so I'm going to turn over to Shakita to kind of give some final words as we prepare to close. And thank you again so much, Kobe. I
Oh yeah.
really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much,
Thank
for
you.
sharing again. So yes. So Shakita.
I just wanted to share, just from a therapist perspective, that there is a company that I am aware of, and I can't think of the name of it right this moment, but I'll send it to you, Sister Respis, and maybe you can drop it and share it.
Okay.
But there is a company that has started reaching out to all of the colleges, so that the counseling offices can refer out, so that the students can be able to get counseling. I signed up with the company, and so we're able to offer pro bono rates, very low rates, to be able to see the students for those that want to come outside of the college campus and seek counseling that may not have insurance. So there's a lot of they're reaching out to all of the colleges. A lot of colleges have not signed up yet. And so I'm gonna share that link with Sister Respis, because if there's a college that's on there, and for any of the students that may be listening, don't see their college name on there, you can submit your college, to get, and they'll reach out to them to help them get signed up. And then you have the therapists all over the U.S. that are a part of this organization. So I just
That's
wanted to
amazing.
share that. Yeah. So there is help that's
No,
out
that's
there.
amazing. That's extremely amazing, because I think that's key. Our student athletes knowing that there's help out there, and that they
Yeah.
can't get it on campus because of, fear of being, let go or released from the team or other reasons, that they can do so privately and still maintain their mental health. So that is amazing, and that they're recognizing and seeing the need for a counseling for our college athletes, and just students in general, and that
Mhm.
is available. So that's a huge step in the right direction and bringing awareness to mental health. So thank you. And
You're
so,
welcome.
I want to thank our viewers for watching, on here on YouTube and Facebook. It's been a pleasure, having you join us this evening and listening to Kobe Boyd share his story. Again, keep talking about mental health. Let's talk. Let's not be ashamed of talking about mental health, because it's just like any physical health issues or challenges that we have. We talk about it, we discuss it, so that we can get the proper care. And so that's why we're here today, Hope Ministry, is to talk about mental health and to end the stigma and the shame. And so we're thankful for this opportunity to share. And I pray. It looks like we have one last question, real quickly, before we close out for Kobe. Um, Kobe, are you continuing education without football?
Yes, yes, I am. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. So yes. So awesome,
Awesome.
awesome, awesome. That's great. That's great. And I'm sure without the added stress. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And so Shakita, I'll have you close out, and the final words.
Okay. So I would just like to also thank you, Kobe, for joining in with us today. just some words of wisdom to you. I would tell you to keep sharing your story. And with all of the college campuses, there are a lot of college campuses that will have open or would greet you with open arms to come in and share your story. You can communicate with the college, the counseling centers as well, to be able to do that, and a lot of the student centers as well that have the different student groups would definitely welcome you in to come in and share your story. So I just would tell you to keep sharing, because the more you share, the more you heal.
Oh yes.
So, and I would just like to thank everybody for joining in and watching with us on this evening. Stay tuned with us throughout the month of May as we continue to talk about mental health. And we're going to talk about it. And we'll be talking about it this Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. at Antioch Christian Fellowship. So if you haven't registered, please go and sign up, and be there. And I believe, Mr. Kobe, will you be there with us on Saturday as well?
That's
Mr.
correct.
Kobe gonna be there with us. So definitely bring your youth out, your young adults out, so they can hear him share his story in person. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, we thank you all. Y'all take care. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.